So before we do this item, I should probably tell you, just in case you don't already know it, that an oyster catcher is a bird. Just in case you've never heard of it and you think I'm talking about an actual vessel, a ship at sea catching oysters, and this is some kind of item about fish and chip shops or fisheries or fishing rights. Nothing to do with that at all. This is a bird called an oyster catcher. So a bird tag which tracked an oyster catcher's flight from Dublin to Orkney appears somehow to have wound up in a home in West London. The GPS device recorded the bird's migration before falling off on the island of Sanday, but it continued to transmit a signal and it started travelling again to a campsite, a pizza restaurant and then a residential street in Ealing. PhD student Steph Trapp would very much like her tracker back, if you please. Hello, Steph. Morning.
Morning.
So tell us about first of all what an oyster catcher is, what kind of a bird, and then secondly how and why you use this tracking device.
Sure. Well, an oyster catcher is a type of wading bird, or a shorebird. So it spends most of its time along the coastline or in estuaries, poking around in the mud. And for my PhD project, we're working with a local council over in Dublin, and they're really interested in how these birds might be using urban habitats as well as the coastal habitats, because when the tide comes in, they get pushed off the coastal areas and come into the city.
Okay. And so to that end, to find out what happens to a single oyster catcher, you attach this rather expensive device. Now, how did you catch the bird in the first place and get the thing attached?
Yes, we use a method called cannon netting. So we'll find a place where the birds are roosting and then just use a massive net to catch them. And to attach the tag, we superglue it to a little piece of gauze, and then we clip some of the feathers off the bird's back between its shoulder blades. Yeah. And then we can superglue that gauze onto the base of its feathers.
Gosh, and did you do that personally?
There was a team of us doing it, yeah.
Is it, I mean, what's it like? Is there quite a lot of jeopardy involved in appending one of these to an oyster catcher, which is a bird if you've just joined us?
Well, you do have to have a special license to do it because obviously you're handling a wild animal, so you want to keep stress to a minimum. And we did have a few people fall in the mud a couple of times.
And about how big is an oyster catcher in comparison with, for example, a seagull or something like that?
So they're one of the larger wader species, a little bit smaller than a herring gull, I'd say.
Okay. A herring gull might be a bit specialist for some of us. We may not be able immediately to envisage a herring gull.
Your bog standard seagull.
Your bog standard seagull, so a little bit smaller than that. Okay.
Yeah.
So what happened next? Off goes the oyster catcher, but where?
Yeah, so it was in Dublin for a little while and then migrated up to Orkney in February.
And just tell me, was that surprising or was that what you expected? How was that?
That was fairly expected. They've gone to all sorts of places, but Orkney, Shetland, the Hebrides, fairly standard for summer season.
Yes. And then what happened?
And then the tag fell off. So we saw it was just still on a beach for a while and then suddenly started moving again at the end of May and went around the islands a bit, following major roads, and then came back down into the north of Scotland and gradually made its way south and eventually wound up in Ealing at the start of June.
So what do we surmise might have happened to this tag then?
Well, we think that it must have been someone who was on holiday up there and has just spotted this tag on a beach, wondered what it was, maybe picked it up and stuck it in a pocket and forgotten about it, not realising that we have been following their movements for the past couple of weeks.
What does a tag actually look like? Just in case anyone's listening, they live in Ealing, they have been to the Orkneys, because that can't be that many people. It must whittle it down quite dramatically for you. So what does the tag look like if you should find one?
So they're quite small. They weigh about 10 grams, a couple of inches long, just a little black plastic brick, really, and they have a tiny little solar panel in the top.
I'm just wondering what anyone who found that could have thought it was. I mean, it's not like many other things. It's not like you're thinking it's a pebble or a shell or a I don't know, something you'd use in a casino, one of those counters or whatever. It's very obviously something with a solar panel in the top that is very probably a tracking device, isn't it? So why do you think someone would pick it up? I suppose out of curiosity, do you think?
Yeah, probably just that. And potentially it was a child that picked it up and stuck it in a bucket of shells, not realising what it was.
But we know that it's not still in a bucket on the Orkneys. We know that somehow or other it got brought home to Ealing. So what is the message? Because how much do these devices cost?
They're about £1,000 each, so pretty pricey.
So you would really like this one back. If you get it back, obviously it's still working because you know where it is. So it's in good working order.
Yes, yeah, we're still getting transmissions from it. So if we do get it back, we can reprogram it and deploy it on another bird next season.
Okay, so this is public service broadcasting. This is to help you out and help you try and get your tracking device back. So who are we red alerting here? Anybody in Ealing who has been to the Orkneys?
Yes, anyone who was on Sandy in the Orkneys at the end of May and then travelled back down through Scotland and down to London between the 1st and the 3rd of June.
And does it have little outings in and out of the house, this tracker? I mean, can you tell when they go to the local shop to pick up a pound of apples and, when they're going to the roller disco? Can you tell that? Or is it just staying put inside a house or inside a pocket somewhere in Ealing?
No, it would be a little bit strange if we could still follow their day-to-day movements. No, it's just fairly set at a house.
It's stuck. It's still, is it? Is that
Yes,
why you think it's in a pocket somewhere? Or a drawer or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so anybody listening to this in Ealing, because you can get as precise as Ealing, who went to the Orkneys, and it could be your child, put it in an anorak pocket, and it's still there. It could be you did bring a bucket of shells home and just stuck it outside in the garden shed or something, and it's still in there. It could be in your own pocket. It could be the glove compartment of the car. It could be absolutely anywhere. If you were in the Orkneys and now you're in Ealing, this is probably you. Inadvertently, you have probably taken home £1,000 worth of tracker, and they would love to have it back. So the thing is, Steph, how do they contact you if they have got it?
It would be great if people could contact Professor Stu Bearhop from the University of Exeter. He's supervising the project and he'll be able to sort out getting the tag back. And also we are able to offer a reward in the form of £100 of vouchers of their choice.
Oh, how delightful. So if you've got it, you might as well say you've got it, because then you get £100 worth of vouchers. Just spell the name of the professor, because that's not an obvious spelling that I know of. A bear
Sure,
hop.
yes.
So it's bear as in Paddington Bear and hop as in hop up and down. Bearhop. Professor Bearhop of
Yes.
of the University of Exeter. Get in touch. You get £100 worth of vouchers. Give back the tracker. You took it home by mistake, we're sure. Thank you, Steph, very much indeed. Steph Trapp, their PhD student.